GT Racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Tonight's car and track combination might epitomize what this series is all about. There's no pressure of a championship at stake, but there'll be plenty of trash talk and a whole lot of good fun in between. And the world's best racing car drivers battling it out against some of the quickest sim racers on the planet. Welcome along to the circuit, the Spa Francorchamps. What a track car combination we have this week for week 2 of just SimSpeed TV. The track details are going to be up on screen in just a moment's time. There they are. It's a 6.9 kilometer circuit, 4.5 miles, depending on your units of choice. Obviously located in Stavelot, Belgium, or Francorchamps, depending on how you like to classify this. Extremely long circuit. It's the longest on the Formula One calendar. Ironically, though, we are using the IndyCar iRating for racing action today, and that is going to prove a challenge. Some of these drivers talking about setup issues already. The banter has begun. The excuses have become out here today. It's very hot as well in terms of track temperature. And look at that, by the way, 48 degrees Celsius in terms of track temperature. Cam Dance is alongside me, myself, Jonathan Simon, Jay Kennedy behind the scenes in production, and Cam Dance to put in such a spectacular car combination and then add 48 degrees of track temp. I mean, it could not get any harder for these fellas.
It certainly couldn't. It's crack an egg and cook yourself some eggs for breakfast on that sort of heat. So, yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult for a lot of these drivers with this sort of heat out there on the track at the moment. But nevertheless, we'll probably see some very, very close action. Obviously, aero cars, so a lot of draft up the likes of towards the Kemmel Straight and all that sort of stuff. So, see what happens, but it'll be really interesting.
We have a lot of talent on offer. Here's Scott McLaughlin, races in the Supercar Series in the real world, and he's out here loving Just Send It once again. Of course, thanks as well to our sponsors today of the Hype Project, Wolfchester, Vantage Freight, GB Galvanizing, or even SimWorks. Don't forget them. And the main thing is here, Cam, 40 minutes of racing action. We know it's a fixed setup, so I would think there's no excuses between the fellas.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, no way to throw the old spanner at the car and go, let's make it better. It's literally get out there and just drive the wheels off it, because it's fixed setup, like you said. So just all about getting the most out of the car, using the tyres to your advantage, using the aero as well. So really going to be interesting to see what sort of times we're going to see in qualifying and who's going to come away with the race win.
Yeah, this is Glenn Wood on screen. He's an Australian GT driver. Glenn Wood is ever quick in the real world. Let's see if he can do it out here today. Is that Lewis Hamilton's helmet?
I believe it is, actually, well, it looks it.
A sexy helmet. And let's ride on board with him now. We're currently in practice, by the way, just in case anyone's wondering. You can see the timer at the top left-hand side of the screen with 5 minutes remaining. Josh Anderson currently leads the screen, but Cam, talk us through this torrid lap through... Oh, jeez. Thanks, Glenn. Maybe we'll talk through another lap there.
Yeah, certainly. It wasn't the most optimal line through there for Glenn, unfortunately, but jumping on board with Josh Anderson at the moment. We'll see what he can do. Obviously, very, very good peddler, very well known amongst the Australian New Zealand community. Obviously, does race for Veneville Sim Racing in the VRS GT Pro Championship, which just recently ended the other weekend, but here we are coming through the very, very fast left-hander of Puhon. Very nice, using all the road to his advantage, braking as late as he dares into the chicane, using a little bit of curve, not too much. Looked like he got a little bit of oversteer, but looking pretty good for a lap at the moment for coming into the section before heading down at the back straight towards Francorchamps. Very smooth on the wheel inputs, as you can see, and still using all the road to his advantage, pulling at 6th gear now heads down on the run towards Blanchimont. Obviously, flat out from pretty much the exit of the previous two corners all the way down to the bus stop. And you can see that aero just really making things easy all the way through down to the bus stop, braking very, very late into the bus stop chicane, not using too much curve, don't want to unsettle the car too much, getting a nice solid exit onto the start finish line.
There's 102 meters of elevation change at Spa, and a lot of it occurs at this first sector coming up right now. Through La Source is Anderson, and oh goodness gracious, he floored that. I think that was quite deliberate. But drivers were talking, Cam, about how this fixed setup is torrid. How through Eau Rouge, they're even having to downshift. Was it back in a fifth? Right on board here. So let's have a listen to this. See, downshift to fifth and then back up to sixth. Oh, that's frightening.
Yeah, that's definitely not optimal, as you'd pretty much want to be keeping it in the same gear the whole way up, but obviously very interesting setup been made tonight. Obviously isn't the most amazing setup in the world, but isn't the worst, I'd say. So it'll be very interesting to actually see who can optimize the setup the most and really drive around it quite well as well, but getting very sideways over the exit curve there.
Yeah, and who are we riding on board with here? We with Bo Albert, SimSpeed commentator, and he's all over the place. Is Bo? Come on, mate. Put on a better display than that. And he goes through Puon. He's got a lot of traffic, though, has to be said right now. There's how many cars we have out there? Over 60, I believe, for this event out here today. No short on numbers weekly, as per usual in this series.
Yeah, sure. And he's actually made his frontal protection thing the design of a cone, traffic cone by the looks of it, to make things a little bit interesting. So good on Bo for making it a little bit of an interesting thing, but also obviously we do know what road cones can do in there for safety, so he's used somewhat of initiative there, but as you can see, using also having a lot of traffic on this lap as well, so obviously not going to be his quickest lap today.
Well, I guess he'll be our driver with 0 incident points at the end of this event. Probably not, but he finally maneuvers his way around the last stretch of traffic. Through La Source they go, Cam. Full throttle through here?
You'd be pretty hard-pressed to get through La Source flat out, but yeah, someone definitely did try it around the back, but yeah, it's very interesting because of the way that obviously you've got all this aero, but the aero push does make it very difficult, especially through some of these tighter sections where having that clean air is really going to take advantage.
Yeah, most certainly. Here's Scott McLaughlin on screen. So he's one of the many racers who are also racing in the real world. He's currently second in practice. He's driving quite well, has to be said. And he loves this series, doesn't he, week to week? And it's like we promote here at Just Send It. As soon as this series starts to get a little serious, you might not see Scotty here another few weeks.
It'll definitely be interesting to see how long he sticks around for. Obviously, everybody's a little bit competitive in their own right at some stage during their bit of time in sim racing, but obviously Scotty very well known, having done quite a bit for the community in the past. Obviously, done a lot of V8 racing, commentating for SimSpeed at one point as well. But regardless, it's good to see a number of drivers, including himself, out there giving it a red hot go against some of these sim racers who are very quick. Such is the man himself on the screen at the moment, Cooper Webster, having driven for ERT. Very good peddler to see what he can do this time by across the line as he comes through into the bus stop.
Now let's have a listen to Cooper Webster through the final corners. Little tail happy through the final chicane. And that is an awesome lap right there. He promotes himself to 7th. So ahead of Emerson Harvey, who we believe is also a Formula 4 driver out there in the real world. So good to see even your younger racing car drivers starting to come up the ranks, also joining in on the fun.
Yeah, for sure. It's always really good to see these young guys that obviously aren't really well known or only just starting their careers really getting involved in this sort of stuff, giving everybody a sort of an eye on what sort of pace they actually hold and where they may or may not end up in their late career come the end of their career. But obviously just actually seen a car stop the upside down the bus stop, but into qualifying, we go now for a 50-minute session.
Yeah, and I just had a look at the drivers list. Everyone's Australian except for Phil Letchford from the UK and Ireland and Matthew Powers from the USA. Look at the mad dash out of the exit of the pit lane right now. There's Josh Anderson in the middle of the pack. Everyone's screaming away here to set a lap. The thing I find, Cam, is that have you driven this car much on the road? I've done a lot of testing in the Dallara in the iRating around the ovals. I'm not sure when these tires are up to pressure and when they wear off.
Yeah, obviously I've done a little bit of road racing in the IndyCar, the new IndyCar specifically, every now and again. Obviously not too many times, but looking at this scale of cars, it's already very interesting. But yeah, talking about those tires, it's one of those things that's not going to be you want to do a slow outlap sort of thing, but you also don't want to take the grip out of the tire too early on your outlap either. It's a weird compromise between getting the heat into the tire but also not wearing them out. It's really, really weird. And obviously with this track heat, it's really going to make things very, very different because you're going to get that heat into the tire very quickly, but it's also going to mean that you don't really want to push too hard on this outlap. Although looking at it, everybody's just giving it full 100% send because everybody's just right behind each other, tripping over each other and trying to find a bit of draft by the looks of it.
Yeah, and this is Dylan O'Keefe. We know races in supercars and TCR. Hopefully TCR and iRacing, when that comes to the fray in a couple of weeks, is just as exciting as the real world. We ride on board with him here, Cam. Have a nice little watch with some clean air and see how he begins the lap right now. This is going to be a very skatey first lap just due to the nature of the tires. I've got my my hands held. I'm praying for him. Hopefully he makes it around this beast of a circuit.
Yeah, he certainly does. Starting the lap now, heading down towards La Source for his first final lap. Clean air in front of him, so he have pretty much maximum grip that he can possibly get. A little bit of an inside lockup into La Source. He's run a little bit wide, but not done it too bad by the looks of it. So going to obviously get by a car that's actually just come out of pit lane with Paul Williams. So coming up El Rouge and Rodillion, looking like a fairly clean run. Nearly ran a bit wide on the exit, but not too bad. Heading down the Kimmel Straight now, relatively still decent pace at the moment, 280 kilometers an hour, and slowly increasing to 282. Put hard on the brakes into the Lecombe chicane, and there he goes around into the wall.
Well, he didn't survive much of it. Survived about a kilometer of the 7, and he's going to have to head back out there and begin another lap. Who else is on the lap? I know Josh Anderson's in the fray, and he is. That's a huge collision, by the way, with the barriers. Thank God he doesn't have to make a trip to the hospital. Bo Albert on screen. He was riding on board with back to Josh Anderson here down the back of the pack. So he's heading through No Name and then Puon. Again, the traffic, I know the dirty air, as we see another car almost off into the barriers. Dirty air isn't any easier in this car either.
Yeah, it certainly isn't. Obviously, most of this track being high downforce corners, but also, obviously, you want to try and have that medium compromise of having enough straight line speed. Obviously, the setup being fit, so what you've got is what you've got, but looking at it, everybody's relatively doing all right. It looks like the dirty air isn't doing too much disadvantage to those in traffic, but nevertheless, Anderson heading it through Blanchimont flat out as everybody else at 280 kilometers an hour, very, very quick, hard onto the brakes into the bus stop chicane, looking very, very clean actually. This could be a very clean lap by the looks of it, as we've already got our first times coming up onto the board.
Oh, I like that. Bo Albert, 57.6, already pipped by Craig Edwards. Anderson only third for the moment. Owen up in the provisional pole. Cooper Webster promotes himself to fourth, drops Bo Albert to the 5th position. More times coming in as quick as possible right now as the mad dash of Dallara IR18s make their way and complete their first laps. Now, interestingly enough, Anderson pulled into the pit lane. Some other drivers have pulled out to have a second lap. So that, again, like I said, Cam, if the tires are up to pressure, that could play to their benefits.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, fresher tires, the better in this sort of car where you want to use the maximum amount of grip. Currently on board, though, with Scotty McLaughlin himself, heading it down towards the Lecombe chicane at the moment. Hard on the brakes, looking like a relatively good run, actually. Quite a lot faster than what we saw at the likes of Dylan O'Keefe in that, running at about 290 kilometers an hour just before he hit the brake pedal. So a lot quicker. Obviously having a bit of draft, but he's going to have some traffic ahead of him in a bit of dirty air. We'll see if this affects his lap time a little bit too much.
Let's ride on board with him just a little bit more. It's going to be a fun lap with Scott McLaughlin towards, let's ride at least the Stavilo. Let's see how he handles it.
Relatively clean so far through that section of track. I did wonder if he got a off track at Buhon, but
Yeah, same.
possibly not. But regardless, looking like a relatively clean lap so far, and he could actually go quite high up the list with the draft that he's had.
Yeah, running a lovely James Hunt helmet as well. Great throwback. And this is going to be a nice toe to slingshot him towards a potential pole position. He's looked good in practice, and he's slowing up, just trying to get a good run for yet another lap. So if he saved the tires, Cam, he should be able to get a good run out of here, which he's going for.
Yeah, obviously you want to try and protect the tyres as best you can, but also not use them up too much on your flying lap, especially if you want to get that second lap in. So see what he can do for this lap as everybody else trying to use a bit of the right foot and using a bit too much of it out of La Source there, as you saw a number of cars parked on the inside. But and your Benefield on screen at the moment, currently sitting P5 coming into the bus stop chicane. Will he improve on this lap? No, he actually goes in the pit lane.
He does. That's a very narrow pit entry. I don't think anyone's going to be... No, we have to use it during the race. Isn't it mandatory pit stop, correct? Yep, so that's going to be a tough tussle as well. And we also know there will be a competition caution, so be wary of that later on. But for the moment, qualifying, we're about halfway through the session. This is Matthew Powers on screen. And Matthew Powers, for the moment... is yet to set a competitive time. He's one of our two non-Australian drivers, I believe. He's from California. We know Phil Letchford from the UK and Ireland. Everybody else in Aussie represented well, and I'm saying that deliberately, Cam, because they may be from New Zealand, but obviously we consider New Zealand a state of Australia.
Yes, I know that's a little bit of an inside joke between a lot of us and the Australian New Zealand community, but Matthew Powers obviously coming through down towards Blanchimont now, looking like it's been a relatively clean lap from him. He's had no traffic around him, so he's had pretty much full potential to try and get as best of a lap as he can, but see what he does when he crosses the line at this time by, looking like relatively good into the bus stop. Not doing too bad. Looked like he broke a little bit earlier though, but looking like a relatively solid exit onto the start-finish straight coming across the line. It's going to be 1 minute 58.6.
Nice time from Matthew Powers. And through La Source he goes. Oh, there's Glenn Wood off into the wall. Glenn Wood's been here for quite a few weeks as well. But for the moment, at the top of the timing screens, you can see on the right-hand side of the screen is Craig Edwards. Josh Anderson, well, shares the front row with Edwards himself. Then it's Chris Owen, Jared Filsell, one of the quickest drivers. Also signed with Walkinshaw, didn't he, in the Supercars E-Series? So it'll be good to see him battling it out on iRacing later on when that commences. Right for the moment, though, Cody Bircher promotes himself to 4th, just as I was saying that.
Yeah, very, very good lap there from Bircher to get into P4 and actually pip Jared Filsell by not actually a lot of time as well. So as you can see, very, very close times at the moment. Pretty much top 18 separated by 1.5 seconds. And in fact, pretty much the top 27 separated by 2 seconds. So it's very, very close out there. And as you can see now, everybody trying to get a bit of draft and a bit of toe down at the Kemmel Straight to try and maximize their pace on this lap.
And by the way, we are trying to find someone on the lap, but it is impossible because there's either damaged cars out there. I mean, Jake Burton surely is on a lap here. He's on an out lap too. We've just heard from Jay Kennedy. It seems everyone's stuffing up their laps because this car and track combo is so tough. They're having to return to the pits, press the illustrious escape button that sim racing allows you to do. and then begin a whole nother lap here. There's just no confidence and no rhythm. And if anything, that could be a good thing coming to the race here, Cam, for entertainment.
Yeah, 100%. It'll really, really spice things up a lot, especially with obviously everybody not really having all that much experience in this car combo, well, car track combo, especially with the IndyCar. I know a lot of people don't tend to drive this car too often on road courses in the Aussie community, but at the moment on board with Cooper Webster, who is on a lap as well. So we finally found someone at long last to be on a flying lap at the moment. Currently, he's got the car of Luke Claver just ahead of him, so going to get not too bad of a run, although he might have got held up there on the exit from Claver, not getting the best of exits, but a nice, good draft on the way down to Blanchemont.
That's an awesome camera angle right now. He searches for the inside. I'm not sure if he's cleared him, though. Yes, he has, through Blanchemont. Max Verstappen-esque is Cooper Webster. And nails his braking point. That's key, Cam, because sometimes I notice as a driver, you make a good pass and then you just miss your braking point into the next corner and give up all your hard work.
Yeah, it's one of those things that as a racing driver, you sort of go, I've got past this guy, now I've got to try and defend to some extent. And it's a really weird mental thing where you end up over braking because you're trying to make sure he doesn't run into you, but also make sure you don't end up under braking. So yeah, it's one of those weird things that you'd really got to try and have a compromise between the two, and usually ends up with you out braking yourself.
This is Jared Filsell on screen, driver for the Apex Racing team, and of course Walkinshaw in the Supercars E-Series. He'll be representing both Supercars E-Series to commence shortly. And he didn't improve his time there. This is Joshua Anderson. What corner is this? This is the Fania chicane. Fat full of rear wing up ahead of him. That looked like a nice throwback to the old Lotus of the 70s, I think. And Josh Anderson also decides to take a trip to Bondi Beach.
Yeah, he definitely went for building sandcastles trip there, and as you can see, Trent Harrison with an absolute fantastic black and gold, what would normally be a John Player special livery, but obviously doesn't quite have those logos on it. But regardless, very, very nice livery, and one that you definitely can't miss, that's for sure.
Certainly not. Look at the traffic here at the final corner. And this is Trent Harrison. We know one of the series organizers. Thanks to him as well for all his hard work behind the scenes, for getting Just Send It started, up and running, and there it is, but not any less serious, of course. Visit the Facebook page at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Give it a like, follow the series, and there'll be plenty more of these rounds that you can also take part in as well if you're an iRacing member in the future. And it does not matter what iRating you have, what license you have, what class. The only way you can really be kicked out of this server, Cam, is if you deliberately take someone out.
Yeah, even then, that's somewhat allowed from what I've seen in the past. But regardless, like you said, if you want to get involved, get an iRacing account and get involved, because it's just so much fun. It's such a great series to be involved in. Obviously, professional drivers, professional sim racers, it's everything you could possibly ask for.
Yeah, and this is some more traffic right now. It's Chris Owen, currently third. Never knew Chris Owen was quick in open wheelers. Daniel Benefield into the first position. He's someone who's quick in open wheelers, and that's by, look at the gap, 0.003 of a second with a minute to go in qualifying. Oh, I bet you he was sandbagging.
Yeah, there's not a lot in it to be that much further ahead of Craig Edwards in second. So really good lap there by Benefield to end up putting it straight to the top of the timesheet. But at the moment, as you can see, Scotty McLaughlin again struggling to get a proper lap in. He's all the way down in 41st at the moment, and he probably won't get a lap in at this stage because there's not a lot of time on the clock, only 40 seconds.
Well, if you'd like to sponsor Scott McLaughlin's onboard cam for the race, I'm taking offers. It's at $1 million for this race because it's going to be an entertaining camera. It can be the SimSpeed Esports Network onboard cam. That was a pun intended, by the way. that was horrible. Jesus Christ. But yeah, we should sponsor this onboard cam. So get in the YouTube comment section, type up your company website, and we'll get into contact in the next 5 minutes. Nevertheless, qualifying ticks to 0. Scotty is... Oh, that was close. Did he make it?
Just made it.
Oh, man. Well, we'll have to wait to see at the end of this lap. I think iRating will still count the lap personally, locally at least, but we're not going to find out until about 2 minutes time whether or not he's actually set the lap here, Cam.
Yeah, I think it was just enough to make it across the line to get the extra lap, but would have been very, very liable, probably, if not 2 seconds, if not less, to when the chicken flag came out. So if he did make it across, he was very, very lucky, but if he didn't, it's going to be a very interesting race for him, and like I said, get a sponsor on that onboard because it's going to be all sorts of entertainment.
And whilst qualifying is wrapping up, Dylan O'Keefe is another surprise down the order. So he's someone we're going to have to look out for. He's currently in position 30 here. Mitch McLeod, and he's coming towards the end of this lap here. Look at this lovely chopper cam we have, and Cam, I believe, unless he mucks up the final chicane, which you can do because it's very hard to spot the brake markers at Spa through this final chicane, I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, I think he should be alright, but like you said, has to nail that braking zone, which he doesn't! Nearly making contact with the car ahead of him, which has just spun out as well. So a little bit of distraction, but we'll see what the time is when he crosses the line. No improvement.
No improvement at all. He actually loses a spot as somebody else promotes themselves up the order. And where's Scotty now? He's out, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, Scotty McLaughlin will start from 46th. Oh, God, there's, like we said, 60 drivers out there participating. But it looks like, well, we have, everyone's done, but Job Stewart might still be able to, well, I'm not sure if he'll, I don't think, Jay Kennedy's telling us that he's crossed the line a little bit too short. Let's take a look at your grid for today's event. So, Daniel Benefield, pole position by 0.03 of a second ahead of Craig Edwards. Benefield, we know, is very quick in open wheelers, so we'll see if the likes of Josh Anderson or Phil Sell on the second row will be able to knock him off the top spot. How about Chris Owen and the ever-quick Jake Burden, former Aussie Sim to Supercar, Aussie Driver Search Sim to Supercar winner back in 2018. I marked up that name, by the way, excuse me. Cody Bircher starts from 7th after an early quick time, and then you can see the rest of the top 10 will be on screen. We cycle through. There's Cooper Webster. Obviously, Emerson Harvey, Formula 4 driver, starts from 10th. Kyle Rayburn, 11th. Guy Leach starts from 14th. And as we cycle through the field cam, the notable names I see down the order. Where is Bo Albert? 17th. That is not good for him. Scott McLaughlin, like we said, the starter. I have to scroll down so far to find him. 46th. Glenn Wood, 38th as well, Cam.
Yeah, there's a lot of drivers out of normal position. Obviously, Dylan O'Keefe, one of them as well, in 31st. You got Mitchell McLeod in 33rd. You've got also Aaron Cameron down in 56th. You've got Brody Whitmore in 60th, sorry. So it's a really, really mixed up field and going to be very, very interesting to see what happens and who's going to send who and what sort of shunts we might see, because get to the top of Eau Rouge, there's going to be a massive draft train, and I reckon we're probably going to go 4 wide in lap 1.
I hope so. You can see the race details on screen. It's a 40-minute fixed setup event. There'll be one competition caution, and we know there will be a compulsory pit stop that will be required by the drivers out there today. It's a very long circuit at Spa, 7 kilometers, just about 4.5 miles, depending on your units of choice. And we are using the Grand Prix layout. The weather out there, 48 degrees Celsius track temperatures. Expect drivers to spin in these early laps as they manage to get these tires back up to temperature. And final notes before we begin this race. Cam, we have a few awards for tonight. There'll be an award for the best send. It is successful, though, so it has to be successful. I'm not sure if that means it has to be clean or successful. There'll be an award for the worst failed delivery. I could easily win that one. And then the best postie. So the most places gained. Possibly a candidate for that is Scott McLaughlin.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see who wins what award because, like you said, big scenes incoming all night long.
So it'll be a very short formation lap. What's your favorite corner for overtaking? Surely the end of the Camel Straight.
Yeah, that would probably be the best. Possibly the bus stop, if not, if you really want to send it, probably Blanchemont. It's a bit of a toss-up between which corner you want to send it at, really, and how brave you want to be on the brake pedal.
It's not really a bus stop, is it? It used to be. I still call it the bus stop too, and I think everyone gets mixed up with the name now after they redesigned it. Yes, these drivers. Jay Kennedy telling us behind the scenes, it is forever the bus stop, and that is a good way to remember this iconic corner. We go green here for 40 minutes of racing for week 2 of Just Send It, and Benefield already flooring it into the first corner and leads the field away quite unscathed. Have a look at Edwards behind. He's lost the position to Josh Anderson, and look at the spinners. They haven't even begun the race, and they're spinning at the final corner.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that turn 1, and they're already spinning at the final corner, like you said, going 3 or 4 wide. A lot of drivers going 2 by 2 up El Rouge and Redillion as well. So really all sorts going on in this race at the moment. But at the moment, back at the front, it's all going off.
We hope to see 4 wide. It may be potentially happening towards the back of the pack, but these are some drivers here battling in the early laps. This is Scott McLaughlin now already up into 38th. Not sure if he avoided the carnage. I doubt so. But with over 60 drivers out here racing today, you never know. And no!
Oh, big shot!
Car flipping around on its roof. F1 2009-esque. That's Glenwood.
Not a great start there for Glenn, unfortunately. And we'll get a Modem Simulation 3 play of that because that was just full send that start and there's just been cars everywhere.
So Modem Simulation replay up on screen. This looks very similar to the beginning. Oh, as Wood here collected a car up ahead, and that caused a domino effect behind. But it looked very similar to the beginning of the Formula One race here back in 2009. Remember Button, Hamilton, a few other names. I think Grosjean taken out, for the 50th time in his career. It was a very iconic incident. Here we see some more battles towards the end of the lap.
Yeah, there's all sorts going on. A couple of incidents happened just before through the likes of turn 15 as well, with a number of drivers checking up. Hello, one of them. But Scott McLaughlin already up to P30, so he's on an absolute charge and a bit of a bottleneck as well up the front of the field. But at the moment, coming from under pressure from Chris Owen, who's gone up the inside at La Source to take the lead of the race. He's going to have a couple of Josh Anderson leading the race. Sorry, I got confused there, but Chris Owen not too far behind with Jared Fulso as well in that P4. So everybody pretty much still trying to sort themselves out, and that draft really coming to play.
And Owen's got a massive run here onto the Camel Straight. Go for it, Chris Owen. Where's he going to go? Outside or inside? Elects for the outside line here as he has, as I've seen in quite some time. 3 wide for the lead. Oh, they're going to bottleneck into Les Combes, and boy, does one car go off the racetrack. That's Benefield. Anderson continues though. Benefield demoted to 4th.
Yeah, nearly made it work there, the Benefield, but not quite in the end. But now at the moment, Fulsad's going to look to make a move on both Owen and Anderson, but he's going to get round the outside the long way of Chris Owen, so he'll move into P2, and now he's got Josh Anderson right in his sights, does the man driving for Apex Racing Team and Walkinshaw United for the Supercars E-Series.
So Phil Sell began this lap in 4th, began the race in 4th, and just 11 corners later, searching for the lead. He's looking hungry here. He's right behind that driver of Josh Anderson. And they head through Stabilo, then curb Paul Frere. Is that an off-track now to do that, I believe, if you go out there? It used to be clean, but I think iRacing's clamped up on the rules there.
Both those corners running right out where Jared did is definitely an off-track, so very much not a normal, well, quote-unquote safe pass, but nevertheless, he's still right on the tail of the car of Josh Anderson, and Chris Owens making a move up the inside as well. So nearly a three-way battle, and Benefield's right back in this as well after going off the lap before Lecombe. So got a three-way battle for second at the moment, four-way battle for the lead.
Well, be careful here, Josh Anderson, because someone's going to try and scream their way past. Thought there was contact on the exit of La Source, but it's all clean between Benefield and Phil Sell. And Chris Owen may have to send it into a Rouge. He thinks better of it. He's a rational dude, Chris Owen. As like the series says, I would have sent it. This is potentially going to be another three-wide battle.
Yeah, Owen going to pull out from the draft to go up the inside. Phil Sell in the middle, backs out of it to slot in behind Owen. So Owen back up one position and get Benefield up two as well. So all sorts going on. A little bit of contact from Phil Sell there, just a bit of a touch, but on board with Scotty McLaughlin back in P number 20. He's already up a huge number of spots. So McLaughlin really pushing hard to try and recover after that horrible starting position.
Yeah, and he passes Luke Sullivan. I went to uni with Luke Sullivan. How you going, mate, after you watch this? And he, oh, Cody Birch is off the racetrack. Stay off the racetrack, mate. Don't join the racing line. This is the battle for fourth. I don't know where to look, man. I'm running out of breath. Chris Owen. This is the Fania chicane, I believe, and he's going to run it a bit too deep, so he's going to have to remain in fourth behind Phil Sell, we know is one of the quickest, deadliest Aussie racing car drivers out there.
Yeah, he's definitely no slouch. Is Phil Sell, but is upside down in the chicane. What has gone on there? Properly tried to send it. We'll get a replay. Because it looks like he's just tried to properly send it. As you can see, being right behind through Puhon, not too far back actually by the looks of it, but he's come into the chicane and just gone full send into it and just wiped out Emerson Harvey in the gearbox, and then both flipped him. So really full send there from Bo Albert, but it did not pay off in the end. So probably going to win an award for worst send in the night, I reckon.
Yeah, that may. Oh, Jesus. That might be the worst I've ever seen in iRacing, and that's what I feel sorry for Emerson Harvey now. I feel like he must have done something wrong, as we see Scott McLaughlin on screen now in the 16th, because I swear Bo Albert had some damage to the front wing. So I'm not sure if something went wrong and Emerson Harvey was involved. Nevertheless, though, Phil Sell now back into third as Chris Owen makes his way up into the second position. What's happened to Benefield? Benefield's down to 6 here, passed by. Oh, there's contact at Lecombe, and that's huge damage there to the front end of Bailey Sweeney. Concertina effect, Benefield in the wall.
Yeah, really unfortunate there for Benefield, as he was very much on for a good result, still sitting in the middle of the track, and everybody's having to take evasive action. We'll get a replay of that to have a look and see what happened. So 3 wide down the Kemmel straight into Lecombe. Everybody trying to get a bit of braveness, and contact made, and unfortunately Dominic Ferris being part of that, and then Benefield coming off second best in that whole thing. So really unfortunate there for Benefield.
Look at this by Joshua Anderson. A 2.5 second lead right now over Jared Phil Sell. Is anyone going to catch him? He started the race on the second row. What's happened to... Oh, God, Craig Edwards is all the way down in 54th. He started on the front row here, Cam. He's still in the race, but something's gone wrong for him here. He's going to try and just send it around the outside. And the driver's ahead of him. That's Chris Owen, Jared Phil Sell. Craig Edwards is being lapped, yeah.
Yeah, he's had just gone back and had a look. He's had quite a bit of a moment on lap 2, I believe, and been pretty much driven through by Andrew Gilliam by the looks of it. So really unfortunate for Craig there. He's usually quite quick in open wheeler cars, but nevertheless on board with Jake Burton, sitting in P number 4 and hunting it down those top 3 ahead of him. Obviously got that competition caution as well, so not really too much to worry about. The likes of these guys trying to fight for 3rd and 4th is now everybody trying to find a bit of racetrack. Burton's trying to look left and right and everywhere, but Phil Sell's going to move it up the inside of Chris Owen and going to not quite have the position. Owen's going to hold it round the outside, side by side. I think a bit of contact there, but Phil Sell will go on through, and so will Burton.
Oh, man, who's that? Oh, God, they've got massive cojones. Oh my God, someone else off into the gravel. Was this Craig Edwards who sent it up the inside? He was trying to unlap himself. Hopefully we get a modem simulation replay of that soon. Scott McLaughlin, though, makes his mandatory pit stop ahead of the competition caution. Will that come and help him out? Replay on screen.
Yeah, as you can see, Craig obviously up the inside slightly there of Burton, but had to slot back in behind and then send it straight up the inside of Chris Owen and came off second best. Owen actually not really being affected by that, so a little bit interesting to see that, but nevertheless, battle for the top three continues between Full Sail, Burton and Owen.
That's what used to happen to Gregor Hutu every time someone hit him. Nothing happened to him. His car was just solid on the racetrack. We thought it was a curse or something, but we all know Gregor Hutu is just the greatest sim racer of all time. Somehow finds a way to get things done. Chris Owen now searching to make a way past Jared Filsell here, heading out of the final chicane. They're letting Josh Anderson run away with a 5-second advantage into P1.
Yeah, Anderson really has broken away from the rest of the field. Very, very good driving there to actually get the gap that he has. Obviously, it doesn't help that these drivers inside the top five, or second, third, fourth, and fifth, all fighting it out, trying to get some position all over the places. Now Phil Sell and Owen are going to go side by side again down on the Kemmel straight towards Lecombe, and you can see in the background the Kipper Webster and Jake Burton also going side by side. So we're 2 by 2 at the moment heading into Lecombe. Who's going to break the latest? Owen takes it ahead of Phil Sell, with Webster also coming out ahead of Burton. So another position change at Lecombe.
And we know iRacing's laser scan Spa, so every nook and cranny of this racetrack is accurate, as it would be depicted in the real world. So there is camber there on the inside of Lecombe as we watch Scotty back on screen. And you know that the camber on the inside of Lecombe, you can defend your position quite well there because of that. Obviously, like I said 3 times now, the camber. Now you're just able to take such a tight line and get away with it.
Yeah, for sure. It really does help that little bit extra characteristic in the track. Obviously, with it being laser scan, like you said, it really does obviously get noticed. But at the moment, Full Sail has got a pretty decent run on Owen here, and he's going to possibly look to make a move into Blanchimont. He's going to go up the inside. They're going to go side by side through Blanchimont. Still side by side. That was unbelievable, but Full Sail comes away with it regardless. So great move there to throw up the inside of Chris Owen, and they've both pitted. In fact, all 4 of them pitted.
Wow, well, that was damage. I think Owen slammed into the rear end there of Jared Filsell, and that's not an innuendo. So Webster, Burton, they are your top 5. Bircher continues though. Now some movers and shakers through the field. Phil Letchford, 18th to 7th. Mia Ott, 22nd to 8th. Currently entering the pit lane is Mia Ott. We know Mitch McLeod. Actually, no, we don't know. Mitch McLeod from 33rd on the grid into the top 10. Brilliant stuff from Mitch McLeod. Let's see if he pits. Oh, he's already pitted. So we just heard from Jay Kennedy, our producer behind the scenes. Mitch McLeod's already pitted. This will be interesting. I want to see. Well, he's not even close to the leaders. They're already exiting the pit exit right now. So McLeod will remain, as far as I know, he's in 11th at the moment. So he will still remain at least within the top 10 once everybody makes their pit stop.
Yeah, and bearing in mind, we've also got that competition caution still to come, but also in another scene, Burton going up the inside of Webster for position. So Burton straight back by into P number 4 for the time being. But like I was going to say, that competition caution is really going to throw things in the air, because it'll be really interesting to see who pits and who doesn't, as McLeod trying to make a move around the outside of Lecombe on Andrew Collins. Doesn't work, down you have to slot in behind.
Yeah, McLeod, we know he's a streamer on Twitch. Don't go watch that now. I'll watch it after this broadcast. Might be streaming this race. But very entertaining fella. I met him actually, was at the Grand Prix this year, and I bumped into him there, which was quite exciting. But he's a good fella. You can always have a chat with him. Today, though, I'd ram him straight off the racetrack and take his position. That's the way I would treat that. One driver there, this is Jared Filsell on screen, trying to make his way past Chris Owen. These two just can't get enough of each other. Love is in the air.
It certainly is, and they're going to go side by side through Blanchimont once again, and Owen on the outside. Feels like going to take the position, although Owen's going to stay there. Is he going to send one up the inside at the bus stop? Not quite going to slot in behind.
And we are right on board now. Whoa, what was that? Did you see that car pop in the middle of the racetrack and then vanished? I found that quite weird. Whoa, one car off into the barrier and on back onto the racing line there. That was quite sporadic. But nevertheless, here, this is chaotic right now. Just midway through the race, there's still 25 minutes remaining, as you can see on the top left-hand side of the screen. But, man, we need timeouts in motor racing because I can't wait for this caution, man. I'm out of breath, man. I need to refill my glass of water. I'm done already, and we're not even halfway through this race.
Yeah, there's definitely all sorts going on in this race. You just look everywhere and there's someone going around or someone passing. Someone is now Scotty McLaughlin comes into pit lane to make his pit stop. I believe he's already made a compulsory pit stop, but possibly that was for damage. So this is the second. Yeah, so first one would have been for damage, and this one it will be a second pit stop, which will be his compulsory, or quote unquote compulsory pit stop. So we'll see where he comes out in relation to. And speak of the devil, there is the caution.
Wow. Well, that was Trent Harrison, series director. I'm not sure if that's his official title, but one of the men behind the scenes who get the job done. And caution's out. It's currently Josh Anderson in the lead, and his lead will be dwindled down to nothing. And we will get to see a full scrap here between Anderson, Filsell, Owen, Burton and Webster yet again. The thing I like about this, Cam, is the fact that if you can get ahead of Anderson, you can potentially steal this win from him, despite him having such strong pace for victory.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what's going to happen. And one thing this does do also is favour Scotty McLaughlin because of when he pitted, literally just before this caution came out. So he's going to be on fresh boots. Obviously, has done an amazing job to come all the way from 46th to currently sitting in 18th. So watch out for him because there's going to be some big sense, I reckon, off this restart by Scotty. And off that restart as well, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens between those top five of Filsell, Anderson, Owen, Burton, Webster, and possibly even those just slightly behind. It's really going to mix this field up.
Well, we finally get to catch our breaths here, and also like to thank series sponsors, of course, the Hype Project, Wolfchester, Vantage Freight, GB Galvanizing, and of course SimWorks. Visit SimSpeed, visit the SimSpeed Esports Network website, and of course, like Just Send It Sim Racing on Facebook. So visit all of them, get involved as well if you're an iRacing member, and join in on the series in future weeks. Every Tuesday, from around about 7 p.m., 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Is that a spinner during safety car? That is bizarre.
That's, I don't think that's normal. But, nevertheless, it's, I believe that was
He helped
Peter
around?
Morris. He was actually helped as they checked up into the bus stop chicane. It was a black car of Nick Carroll making contact with Peter Morris. So, little bit suboptimal there for Peter. He's probably going to have a little bit of damage there as well as Nick Carroll. So carrying a very, very basic carbon fiber livery is Nick Carroll. So a bit of the old carbon fiber going on, but nevertheless, this restart's going to be very, very interesting.
So if you're in the comment section, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or even anywhere else, feel free to vote, of course, tonight so far, halfway through this race, for the best send. So that it has to be successful, though, for any overtake you've seen. The worst failed delivery, the worst failed delivery, that's already going to Bo Albert, so we can cross that off the list. The best postie, which is the most places gained, that obviously you can't vote for, but for the moment, it looks like Glenn Postlethwaite. Oh, no. I was going to say, does Posse also, does he win that award? But he doesn't. It will go to Nick Carroll for the moment.
Yeah, Nick Carroll obviously very, very high up the list on the positions gained, plus 37 on where he started. So, but a lot of sends from Carroll has there been, with Posse not too far behind. But we'll see what happens off this restart, because that may change when we go green.
I'm always nervous during these pace car periods. So, the same time, race control, or at least Trent Harrison, who's our unofficial race control, he's waving through any cars right now. If you're just seeing them scream through the field, one guy just mowing the lawn there. And, oh, that was actually Jared Philsell who's in the lead. So Jared's probably just checking his text messages. Not that we condone texting while driving. Here's the replay, modem simulation replay up on screen. He's probably just on Snapchat now. Grinder, and then back on. Oh, he's even past the safety car.
Yeah, Jared obviously looks to be trying to get a bit of heat into those tires before we go green. It's gonna be a long time before we go green, because the pit lights on the pace car are still on. But as he said, probably on his phone doing all sorts of stuff, trying to get his obviously social media indulge for the date while he's currently sitting behind the pace car.
And that's Luke Claver's day potentially done if he has terminal damage. He has the pit lane limiter lights on. And he's now... Well, here's a replay up on screen. Some drivers entering the pit lane. This is interesting right now. Josh Anderson into the pits. There's a replay up on screen. This is Dylan O'Keefe. Anderson pits. Phil Sell pits. Owen joins him. Burton, Webster, Letchford, Ferraris, Collins as well. There is a huge crash under safety car, but at the same time right now, this is an immense pit party. Here's the replay of the crash under safety car. All your leaders into the pits.
Yeah, I can probably guarantee everybody's trying to get on new tyres, because they've been on them for a few laps, and what this is going to do is actually help Scotty McLaughlin, who did actually pit just as the safety car came out. So he's now right at the front of this field pretty much. And going to be very, very interesting. He's not quite beat the leaders out. He's still got Anderson, technically race leader from Phil Sell, then Webster, and then Owen. And McLaughlin's about relatively P5. So going to be interesting to see what happens here and what may come of this, because there's a lot of quick drivers in that little group, and they're all on pretty much fresh tyres.
Did you see that on the front straight? There were more cars in the pit lane than there were on the racetrack. It was that intense. But like you said, for the likes of Scott McLaughlin, he's currently shown as 11th. But like you said, could effectively bounce up the order once everybody else is filtered out. Anderson's come out in 7th, ahead of Phil Sell. But look at this. More importantly, they've split Chris Owen, who's dropped down to 13th in the order at the moment.
Yeah, not quite sure what happened to Owen there. Maybe just slightly overshot his box or something like that. But he's obviously dropped down the order, which isn't too ideal. But he should be able to latch onto the back of McLaughlin relatively quick off this restart. And obviously, like we're seeing, he's got some decent pace. So shouldn't really struggle too bad and once we go green.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm officially lost right now. There are 60 cars out there, and we're trying to establish who is where, and Cam Dance is doing a phenomenal job of it so far. We may potentially not be 100% accurate. You know what the funny thing about this is? Can we confirm this, Jay Kennedy, behind the scenes, our producer? Has Andre Borrell in P1 actually made 3 pit stops? So he's correct. So we don't know how he's in the lead. He's from the High Project, isn't he? So he's probably rigged. Yeah. So are we? We can say. Surely we can say that. Yeah. So sponsor exemption there, and he's. I mean, there you go, Cam. I don't know what you want to do with that piece of information, but Andre Borrell is P1 by a country mile at the moment.
It'll be very interesting to see what he can do with this restart, because obviously being on slightly older tyres than he would be to those behind him, it would be really interesting to see what happens.
All right, so I'm trying to spot the pace car somewhere. Not sure if you can see it, Cam. Oh, I can see it now. The lights are off, so it's going to be green flag next time around. Oh, there's another crash down the back of the pack here. And it's Cody Berger.
There's just so many cars out there. It's just causing massive bottlenecks by the looks of it. Obviously, pace car just coming through Blanchimont now, so not too far from the group, but yeah, but it looks like Carl Raper will actually be the leader of this race, so this could get very exciting very quickly.
This is going to be intense right now. It's Bailey Sweeney with half a Dallara iRating to lead the field away. As that car looks like it should be parked. It's done and dusted. Pace car in. We're ready to go for the final 15 minutes of week 2 for Just Send It.
Oh, there's been a shot off the race.
We are about... Oh, we're about to go green, but there's a car off at the back of the pack there at the final chicane. Thankfully, does not cause a concertina effect. Couple of cars diving into the pit lane here, but look at us screaming down into turn 1 right now. Bailey Sweeney ahead of Coulson. Tyler Howard behind as well. Luke Sullivan in the fray here, looking to make up some positions.
Yeah, currently everybody trying to sort themselves out. Just saw Jake Boone trying to defend from Jay Cole, but at the moment it's looking like Bailey Sweeney has got his hands full with about several different cars trying to challenge that position. He's fallen back another position. It's the position of Nick Coulson with the car of Tyler Howard going up the inside of both of them. He's barely going to hold the position. Going to try hold it around the outside, but not quite going to be able to do it. So Bailey Sweeney will hold on to the lead of this race. Big check up just behind with Jared Philsell and Cooper Webster, as well as Chris Owen is off the road by the looks of it. So unfortunate there for Owen, but you can still see multiple cars trying to sort themselves out. But at the moment, that top 5 is really tight.
And some big news. Josh Anderson was one of the drivers involved at the final chicane in that incident. And he has damage to the front wing, and that may cost him a potential victory. One driver off into the wall. Are they going to rejoin unsafely? Probably. That's Glenn Postlethwaite, and going to be down the order. Look at Jake Burton right now. Phil Sell should be for P1 driver by the end of this race. Once he filters his way on fresh rubber through all these other drivers, we'll catch a breath and see. Josh Anderson, he's going to struggle. Look at the front wing there. Oh, is there even a front wing there? It's lifted up into the air. There's a lot of damage.
Yeah, that front wing is definitely looking a bit second-hand at the moment after that contact at the start of the restart. But at the moment, Jared Philsell doing really well to catch up to Bailey Sweeney, but he's also got a lot of company behind her, all trying to find their better grip and a better position at the moment. Oh, contact between Coulson and Tyler Howard. Webster somehow made it through there, and there goes the car of Howard around into the inside wall at the source. So fortunate for him there, but at the moment Philsell is nearly at the lead of this race because he is right behind the car of Bailey Sweeney.
Well, Philsell, one more driver to pick up ahead. Off throw, much like you would in baseball. He's going to just send it up the inside, Jared. He screams up the inside. He's got P1 all to himself.
Yeah, textbook move there from Philsell to take the lead of this race. You'll pretty much expect him to just shoot off into the distance. Pretty much, thank you very much. There is his race win. So very easily sailing for Jared Philsell at this point, as we're on board with Scott McLaughlin heading down the Kimmel Straight, currently sitting P28, so he's fallen down the order a little bit compared to where he was, but obviously being on fresher tyres, he'll be able to get around people very easy, just like that, around the outside of Justin Howell, I believe it was, so really easy pass there for him.
Trail braking was the driver ahead there, as we just flicked off camera, but it was very close here. Is the number 13 on screen? And that is the driver of Josh Anderson with a lot of damage, like we said. And this is Scotty He's still behind Justin Howell here. Oh, he forces him offline into Puon. Brilliant move there. And then overly aggressive on the defensive line into the Fania chicane. He's going to hold it. Brilliant driving there. That was actually a nice move to see.
Yeah, really actually good move there by Scotty to get the switch back on the car of Justin Howell. So again, Scotty making the moves happen and moving it through the field, but that's a slow car. Bailey Sweeney has had a moment. We're not sure what's happened there. We'll have a look at what has happened. Was it contact or was it on his own? He may have done that completely on his own, and
zoom out.
Car's actually just died. There's actually no damage at all. So that's a really, really weird one there.
And let's have a watch of this, because afterwards, I think about 10 cars took avoiding action on full throttle. And Jay Kennedy behind the scenes, our producer, is going to try his best to get that replay up for you here. There he is. This is Bailey Sweeney now. This is, oh, that's Andre Borrell also off the racetrack. So Andre, and whoa, one car spinning behind trying to take avoiding action. And this is, oh man, I've never seen a scene like it.
So many cars just going left, right, and everywhere, onto the grass, onto the runoff. It just, you don't know what to expect because it's just cars going everywhere. But Scotty McLaughlin up to P16 already at the moment. So he is on an absolute charge trying to make his way through the field on these new tyres. He's got Nick Carroll and Matthew Powers just ahead of him. So shouldn't be too much of a challenge, but obviously both very good drivers just ahead of him. So might have his hands full here.
And a brilliant comment from Sean Slater on YouTube. He said there's peak hour traffic. How ironic. A lot of these guys come home from work on a Tuesday night and are looking to have some fun, and then ironically they fall into even more peak hour traffic here on the server. 10 minutes to go in this event. This is back on Scotty Cam, sponsored by no one, which should have been sponsored. And he's around the outside there. If he wins this race, which should be optimistic, he deserves it for sure.
He's done really, really well to get up to where he is. A bit of a mistake there from McLaughlin as well. Very rare to see a mistake, possibly in contact. No, it was actually a genuine mistake. So now he's going to have to try and defend from Nick Carroll, who's right behind him now in the drafting boards. Blanchimon is not going to be close enough. Not quite, although he's right there, not quite close enough to get the run through Blanchimon. But Scotty's going to go defensive into the bus stop chicane, and Nick Carroll's going to break himself late and go well wide, so he's going to cut the chicane for a safe exit, but we'll have a slowdown there that he will have to serve, unfortunately.
Well, back to the lead here. Phil Sell on Cooper Webster. Back up the inside. He loves that corner, Jared Phil Sell. And now into the lead with 8 minutes remaining. Let's see if he can remain there, because we know how quick Cooper Webster is. Jake Burton's only a second behind this bunch, so the more they scrap here, the more that Burton's going to be able to reel them in.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see Coop Webster and Phil Sell, also teammates at Evolution Racing Team, so the two teammates currently leading this race. Burton not too far behind. We'll be definitely hunting it down, those two ahead of him, but Josh Anderson making the move on Nick Carroll, Scott McLaughlin, sorry, to try and get by another position. McLaughlin,
what's this?
Really coming through as there's a big gaggle of cars. Cars going left, right, center. 90 cents off the road due to contact with, I believe that was one of the other cars.
Well, I don't know. What was that? There was definitely a concertina effect. McLaughlin's now into 11th. And Anderson, you said, was involved at the same time. His day might be done. Oh, Scotty's picked up front wing damage, I think, heading into the Fania chicane. Here's a modem simulation replay, though. This is the chaos into Ravage.
As you can see, just cars everywhere, and Anderson more contact on the exit of trying to recover after going off the road. But as you can see, through No Name, they're all over the place. Just everybody trying to find a better racetrack in McLaughlin. We're going to go on board with in this replay. See coming through Puhon, just cars too wide, and he's just going to split straight up the middle, nearly contact with the rear end. I believe that's Nick Carroll. So really, really pushing that car hard to try and get through and get some better contact.
He's been taken out. Another driver off the racetrack. So, oh, jeez. Almost reversing back onto the racing line. That's rule number one of rejoining a racetrack, is not to do that. Nevertheless, though, that was your modem simulation.
Oh, Fulson's had a moment. He's actually pitted.
Has he pitted? Really?
Yeah, he has pitted for a third time.
Lost for words. I don't know what's going on. Webster's first, Burton second, Phil Sell randomly pits. I mean, fuel damage?
Bo Albert in fifth? What? How has he done this? He barrel rolled the car on like lap 1. What is this?
The car was written off half an hour ago, and then all of a sudden the world's best mechanics and was he jumped into a spare car like the old Formula One days?
He must have, because that was some fairly heavy damage. He would have had a pretty good run to the pit lane, and there's also another car upside down at one of the chicanes further in the lap. Bailey Sweeney and Trina Harrison. That's not gone well.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, while this is all going on, Daniel Benefield's upside down as well. This will be a replay of that. Yes, it is. And Benefield here through a rouge. Oh, this isn't going to end well. How's he going to get upside down here? Well, you guessed it. 300 kilometers an hour into the barrier. Thank God it's sim racing. Benefield actually started, don't forget, on the front row. And he
That's a spectacular shunt.
Oh, sorry I missed that. I took my eyes off the screen. Oh, leaders in the pit. So Albert's pitting as well. I was watching Bo Albert, but Webster's pitted, Burton's pitted. So I think is the fuel limit come into play here? This is bizarre.
I think it might have, but it's really, really weird. But Webster's just jumped Full Cell, but Full Cell's going to have the overspeed coming out of pit lane. Burton's fallen back to 30s, even further back than he was actually to Full Cell. So he's lost a bit of time there, unfortunately. So see what Full Cell can do with Webster, but Webster's pretty much up to speed at this point. So Full Cell not really going to have too much advantage now.
Well, Nick Carroll's just entered the pit lane, but ladies and gentlemen, I never thought I'd ever say this in motor racing, but before his pit stop, he was up 50 positions from his starting spot. That's insane, and he's currently in the 19th, 20th position now, so he's obviously lost a lot of spots. The late pit stop repairing damage, but nevertheless, though, our focus, I guess, Cam, is going to have to be on Phil Sell and Webster for the win.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very close between the two teammates. Only 2 and a bit laps to go at this stage of the race, about just under 3 and a bit, just over 3 and a bit minutes, as I struggle to get a bit of English out. But nevertheless, Phil Sell really closing that gap up on Webster now.
The car on its roof, by the way. Sorry to interrupt you.
Really car, and Ferraris actually slide down at the chicane. Unfortunately, been there for quite a bit of time now, but nevertheless, we turn our attention back to the lead of the race. Phil Sell's going to have some very good draft heading down towards Blanchimont. Is he going to try and do another Max Verstappen? His teammate's going to go defensive into Blanchimont, so Phil Sell's going to have to try and do it the hard way around the outside. Is he going to get the job done? Yes, not quite. They're going to be side by side heading towards the bus stop. Is Webster going to come close to braking late? No, he's not. And Phil Sell's going to go on through into the lead of the race.
Brilliant move here by Jared Phil Sell. It's been a good scrap between this bunch. Webster was the underrated one in the lead battle. Now he's trying to prove his worth here. Deep on the brakes there into La Source. And I have to say here, with one driver out of the way in the pit lane, it's Aaron Cameron. He is not in this lead battle. He'll have to move out of the way for the leaders. But with 2.5 minutes remaining, that white flag will wave soon, Cam. The checkered flag out soon, but the race win yet to be decided.
Yeah, 100%. The clock is ticking down and the laps are counting down, but this battle for the lead is really spicing up because Webster now going to the inside of Phil Sell for the Lecombe chicane, and he gets the move done before they even get to the braking zone. So slingshot move there by Webster to get the lead of this race, and Phil Sell's going to have that draft back once again.
Ravage. And then No Name, the left-hander. This will be the penultimate lap, if I'm not mistaken, Cam. So we should have 2 to go.
Correct, it will be. So second and last lap we are on. Next time by will be the white flag. That is confirmed. So you can see Phil Sell using as much track as he can to try and keep as close as he can to his Evolution Racing teammates of Cooper Webster. We'll see what he can do this time by into Blanchimont, and this is going to really come down to a bit of racecraft because you're not going to want to lead on this last lap because we've seen Jared Filsell make moves and at both Lecom and also Blanchimont is now he's going to go up the inside of his teammate into Blanchimont. Is he going to clear him? Yes, he is. Webster going to slot in behind. But he's going to try and force the issue up the inside, not quite.
Oh, I got too excited there, sorry. I'm just trying to work. Oh, I see a spinner behind, of course. That's Jake Burton trying to fight his way for the lead. You can see at the final chicane. Then there were two. White flag waves. Final lap begins. Oh, that lap car doesn't want a piece of this battle. It's that nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very close. Webster's going to have the draft up towards Lecom for this final lap of the race. It's going to be very, very close. Who's going to want to lead this one? Probably neither of them, but they're not going to have a choice. Webster's going to have some very good draft up into Lecom. You can just see the overspeed on from the back of Filsell's car. Webster 290, Filsell just under that at 287, so quite a bit in it, but at the moment Webster's sitting behind, probably being patient. A car stopped there. That was Jack Hotter, unfortunately having some issues, but for the time being Webster's actually starting to drop away from Filsell here a little bit.
I was going to say, if I was Filsell, I would just weave on the straight, considering there are minimal rules here for just send it. But it's unnecessary, not needed. The man's driven splendidly. He's, of course, driving for the Apex Racing team in the esports universe, and, of course, signed to Walkinshaw United, Walkinshaw Andretti United, to be more specific, in the Supercars E-Series. That will be commencing a few weeks' time. He's got a few more corners to go. He'll win week 2 of Just Send It. What a splendid race it's been from him, Cam.
Yeah, it's been a very, very solid race from Phil. So pulled a lot of very, very good moves throughout the race in numerous spots. Obviously, being the famous one at Blanchimont on multiple occasions, but coming through the final sector now, it's been a very easy win. It'll be a 1-2 victory for Evolution Racing Team as well.
Brilliant. And Filsell here, I was about to say, he's got one more exit out of the chicane to go. He wins week 2 of Just Send It here on the SimSpeed Esports Network. You can see Burton rounds out the podium behind. Webster ends up in second, the bridesmaid for today. And we watch Nick Coulson, Bo Albert, who we're expecting to be in the top 5 until the pit stop. Now alongside another driver there of Will Longmore into Blanchimont. And they're going to be fighting away for these final scraps here in the top 10.
Yeah, Bo's going to try and hold it around the outside, but a wheel contact between himself and Longmore. And Longmore's going to get that position, but Bo Albert's going to try and charge him, but not going to get it in the end.
Well, so Bo, who, as we said, was probably at his accountant's room writing the bill for the damaged car 30 minutes ago, ends up outside the top 10 here. Dylan O'Keefe ends up in 16th after a poor qualifying performance. So great race there from Dylan O'Keefe, a supercars driver. Of course, also races in TCR in the real world. Here's Glenn Postlethwaite. He's out of fuel. Pozzie's out of fuel, we're hearing, and you can hear that now. Let's have a listen. Well, we were. He's yeah, that car's dead. There's no fuel left. And Cam, unfortunately, let's go to Eau Rouge though, Jay. Let's not miss it. Car's going full throttle into the barriers.
Oh boy, there it is. Chaos everywhere. Cars upside down. Cars doing donuts. Cars doing drifts. Cars blowing up. There's just all sorts going on.
I'm not sure how that car managed to get on its roof. Frankly, I don't even want to know. But nevertheless, though, this may be a good time to look at our final race results for week 2 of Just Send It. So, Jared Filsell is victor for today by 0.4 of a second ahead of Cooper Webster. Brilliant result from those two. Burton ends up in the 3rd position and rounds out the podium. He was pushing in those closing stages, but unable to claim race victory. He was in that scrap for most of the event. So was Chris Owen. Owen ended up in 4th. Collins rounds out the top 5 there. How about Mia Ott's recovery drive back into the 6th position? Brian Borg and Bersha there, you can see 7th and 8th will cycle through the field. This is going to take quite some time. Andre Borrell, who we thought rigged the race during the safety car period to lead, ends up in 9th. Albin in 12th. I still don't understand how that works. We'll talk about that in a second because I thought that he retired from the race. Reese Lowe ended up in 14th. Dylan O'Keefe, like we said, down in 16th. We cycled through a few other names. Scott McLaughlin ended up in 21st ahead of Luke Sullivan. David Trevethan rounded out that 24th position. Posey there out of fuel on the final lap will end up in 28th. I'm not sure where he begun the final lap, but he certainly lost positions nevertheless. And then a few other notable names on the screen there from 33rd onwards. Remember, there were 60 cars here that took the race lead. Of course, that includes Nick Carroll down in 36th. Nick Carroll at one stage was up 50 positions. He was in the 8th position. Nevertheless, though, not anymore. Anderson, who looked good for race victory, he was leading most of this event. Ended up with a DNF there after damage through the middle of the race. Benefield, our pole sitter, only ended up 43rd. And then we'll see the rest of the order cycle through the field. Fastest lap went to Jake Burton on lap 12, a 56.4, an ever quick time. It's how do we wrap up this event? I mean, that was insane.
There was all sorts. You can't prepare for this sort of stuff because it's just everything is going on and you don't know what to do. So, gonna be looking forward to next week. Obviously, unknown car track combo until the day before, but regardless, just send it. It's an awesome series. We can't wait for next week.
Any final thoughts as well ahead of next week? We don't know where the track will be. We don't know where we will be virtually. We don't know the car. That's announced 24 hours before the event. I almost wish, Cam, that we could invent a sim racing series where you couldn't test the cars unless it was an official session. If it sort of simulates the real world. Because we know in sim racing, you announce a car, you announce a track 24 hours before the day of the event. People testing like 1,000 laps and taking sick leave from work just because they're so passionate for Just Send It.
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting concept. Obviously, probably could be a little bit better. I mean, you could be really, really ambitious and make it so that the track and car is only released an hour before the session goes up just to make it a little bit different. But nevertheless, 24 hours beforehand does work quite well, as we've clearly seen with all sorts going on. And so does a average sort of setup. But nevertheless, it's going to be very exciting the rest of the series.
So are we doing interviews today, Jay, just to confirm? So we'll wrap up to this week's broadcast. The magnificent talent you saw out here today will be back racing again next week on the 3rd of September. And that will be for another 40 minutes of racing action. Around what circuit? Which car? We don't know yet. And that will host week 3 action of Just Send It. It will be broadcasted on the SimSpeed Esports Network. Thanks to everybody for joining us for today's broadcast. We saw hundreds of viewers out there on Facebook, plenty as well on YouTube. Thanks for all your comments as well. It's great to see all the fans getting involved. And if you would like to get involved, get yourself an iRacing account. Get yourself involved in Just Send It. It was chaotic today, but it was all in good fun for the series. From myself, Jonathan Simon, Cameron Dance alongside me, Jay Kennedy behind the scenes in production. We will say so long from Spa, and what an event it was here today. We will see you in a week's time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?